So we're going to get into circles now. And this is basically the parent function of a circle. X squared plus y squared is equal to r squared, where your center is 0, 0, and the radius is r. That center can be shifted, same way we've done it before. It's x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared, where your center is hk and your radius is still r. So Plan for a Park puts a center of a circular pond at a radius of 0.6, r is equal to 0.6 miles, at 2.5 miles east and 3.8 miles south of the park headquarters. Write an equation to represent the border of the pond using the headquarters as the origin. So the headquarters is the origin, and the center of the pond is 2.5 miles east, which is 2.5 in the x direction and 3.8 in the y direction, but going south. So I have that center at 2.5, 3.8. I don't really have to graph it. I like to kind of get the idea of where it is, positive, negative. If you know your directions, this is west, north, east, and south. So to write the equation, I have x minus 2.5 squared plus y minus 3.8 squared. Whoops. This was a negative 3.8 in my y, so that becomes a positive. Equals r squared. Well, it tells me r is 0.6. So 0.6 squared becomes 0.36 or 0.36. And there is my equation for the circle. So that's it. It's that easy. So for this one, I have the circle is given. I have the radius. I have the center. The center is 0, 3. To find the radius, I could do the distance formula. 7 minus 0 squared plus 3 minus 3 squared. 7 square root of 7 squared becomes square root of 49, which is 7. You can also just count how many am I going to get from here to here? 7. But sometimes it's not always going to be exact like that. Like when we get to here, we're going to have to find the distance and use the distance formula. Same thing here. So just bringing that up, that point. But if it is easy like this, you can just count. And so my radius is 7. Once I have the center, I have the radius, I can write the equation x minus 0 squared plus y minus 3 squared is equal to r squared, which is 49. There you go. You go ahead and try these two. Go ahead and try these two on your own. These two, you are going to have to use the distance formula to find the radius. So anytime your part of the vertex is 0, that one's just going to be x squared or y squared. So this one, the vertex was 0, 0. So I have x squared plus y squared. And when I found the radius was the square root of 26. So when I'm putting that into the formula, I'm squaring it, which is going to be square root of 26 squared, which becomes 26. And then in the other one, my radius was square root of 13. So on the other side, when I square that, it's going to be 13. And I have x minus negative 1, which becomes x plus 1 squared, plus y minus 4 squared equals 13. So here I'm given 2 endpoints on the diameter, or 2 endpoints of the diameter, and I need to find the center then. Well, the center is going to be the midpoint, so I'm going to use the midpoint formula, which is going to be 2 plus 2 divided by 2, 8 plus negative 2 divided by 2. So my center is 4 divided by 2 is 2, 6 divided by 2 is 3. I have the center 2, 3. And I need to find the radius, which is the distance formula from the center to one of the points. So I have 0 squared plus 5 squared is equal to square root of 25 equals 5. So to write the equation, I have my center, so that's going to be x minus 2 squared plus y minus 3 squared is equal to the radius squared. Well, the radius is equal to 5, so this is equal to 25. And now to draw this, I'm going the other way. So I get my center and radius, and then I'm able to draw it and graph it. So I have the center, because it's just x squared plus y squared, it's going to be 0, 0. And my radius, well, 16 is equal to r squared. Take the square root, the radius is equal to 4. So I have my center, and I'm just going to put 4 points, one up, down, left, and right in each direction from that center, 1, 2, 3, 4, and draw the circle as best you can. Okay, well this one starts to get a little bit tougher because I'm going to have to put it into that standard form of the circle, and this has an x squared and x, so if I gather those two together, x squared plus 6x, get my y's together, well there's just a y squared, and I'm going to move the constant to the other side, so I add 7 and I have it like that. I basically need to do what we did with the parabolas and complete the squares to make this a perfect square trinomial so that it can factor into a binomial that's squared. I only need to do it for the x this time because the y is only y squared. I don't have a y value, so that's going to be it for that one. So to do this, I'm going to add b over 2 squared. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 squared is 9. So I'm adding 9 to this, x squared plus 6x plus 9, and then that's going to factor into x plus 3 squared. But because I added 9 over here, I also need to add 9 to the other side of the equation. And because I'm going to the other side of the equation, I'm adding the same thing, where with the parabolas I was adding it to the same side. So this becomes 16, and this means that my center for this is going to be, remember it's the opposite of that, so negative 3. The y value is 0 because it's just y squared, and the radius is the square root of 16, which is 4. So I have the center at negative 3 is 0, and a radius of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 in each direction, and that's it. There you go. Don't make fun of my circle. So you go ahead and try these two to write the equation when you're given the points on the diameter, and then graph the next one. Remember, you got to complete the squares for both of those. When you're doing both x and y, whatever you add to, whatever constant you add for each, you got to add to the other side for each one. So for the first one, you should have gotten x minus 2 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 17. Find the midpoint between the two. 3 plus 1 over 2 is 4 over 2, which is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So the center is 2, 1. And distance formula for that comes out to square root of 17. But when I square that in the equation, it's going to actually just be 17. And for this one, get the x's together, so x squared plus 4x plus y squared minus 10y. I'm adding 25 for that one. I'm adding 4 for that one. I already added the 7 over here, so it's 7 plus 4 plus 25 becomes 36. This factors into x plus 2 squared, this one factors into y minus 5 squared. So I have the equation -2, or I'm sorry, the circle with center at -2, +5, and I went by 2's here. So -2, +5 is going to be halfway, and a radius of 6, which is 2, 4, 6 in each direction, and that's my circle.
What has one horn and gives milk? A milk truck. Get it? One horn. How can you get 4 suits for $1? Buy a deck of cards.